Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. To facilitate the explanation, I'm using various Dead Island mods starting from UI and skills to support this tutorial video. I have included links to the mods being used in the video description. Enjoy watching. Getting started. After connecting the gamepad, go to Settings, Controls, and under Fighting Type, select Analog. To get straight to the point, this applies to melee weapons. Here, the aim and attack buttons have essentially been swapped. It's important to note that once the aim and attack buttons are reversed, the attack button becomes a lock button that needs to be held down. Before pressing and holding this button, we should focus our view on the crosshair first to determine our target. By target, I mean not a zombie individually as in third-person game, but a target by body parts. For example, the head, shoulder, knee, leg, and so on. Once we successfully lock on, we must remember that after locking a body part, the right analog stick, or the stick we are using to control the camera direction, will be switched to control the character's weapon hand. Simply put, this analog stick functions as motion control similar to VR. Now, do you understand the basic function of the analog fighting type? Just remember, to lock onto a body parts, we need to be close to our target, because if there isn't a definite nearby target, we will only lock the camera's position without aiming at a specific body part. It's crucial not to forget to continue using the other analog stick to position your character. Usually, I steer to the left or right to easily circle around the enemies while locking onto their body parts. Adjustments of skill and special attack buttons. In general, after we unlock the first combat skill, we are given an illustration of how to trigger a special animation with certain weapons when aiming at the head. The movement resembles this in digital fighting types. However, since the analog fighting type does not lock us into animations, we can take advantage of several combinations of analog swing movements. If you didn't know this before, you're probably surprised that this analog type has swing combinations. For the first combat skill, we can perform this with quick swings twice to the right or left. This applies to all types of weapons as long as your character possesses this skill. Just adapt it to your character, as some have sharp and blunt weapons. Next, there is the special button belonging to Xian, which is the jump attack. In the digital fighting type, you can simply jump and attack while still in the air. But in the analog fighting type, although it's a bit difficult due to the short window of time, we observe when our weapon's positions begins to change its animation, like this, we immediately swing in the same direction as stabbing, that is, down and then up. Proceed to the next move if you are playing as Sambi or Xian, who both have tier 2 for blunt and sharp weapon expert. You probably know that once these two characters unlock this tier 2 expert skill, they are positioned at the very bottom of the combat skill tree. Why do I say tier 2 when they are actually in tier 3? It's because I count the number of stripes on their skill icon. Just a bit of information. Only Xian, Sambi, and Pruna have tier 2 expert for weapon expert. Meanwhile, Logan has 3 stripeless tier for all 3 types of experts within the combat skill tree. That's why Logan is often referred to as an all-rounder due to his balanced expert skills. Returning to the special attack in tier 2 weapon expert, the illustration shows that we can trigger a new special attack if we press the same combination button as throwing a weapon, but we need to do it quicker. For example, from what it looks like, I call this an offensive block. Because in addition to being able to parry, this animation can also knock out enemies instantly. It's similar to Sambi's charge skill. Now for the analog fighting type, the combination swing is a quick downward swing twice. Those are the 4 combinations I have found so far. Why choose the analog fighting type? The analog fighting type in Dead Island addresses 2 significant issues present in the game. First, the Skyrim-ish combat swing makes weapon strikes feels like they just pass through enemies without making contact. Unlike Dying Light, where blunt weapons often bounce off enemies or sharp weapons embed in their bodies for a moment, giving the impression that your hits truly connect. Second, there's the issue of repetition. It's well known that Dead Island suffers from an unusual level of repetitiveness. The missions are repetitive, and the lack of parkour movement makes spam clicking to use weapons quite tedious. The analog fighting type can effectively tackle both of these major problems. Moreover, to my knowledge, I haven't encountered this mechanic in any other game besides Dead Island. The closest equivalent to this analog fighting type in another game is Kingdom Come Deliverance. But that game lacks zombies and requires strategic thinking when using the mechanic. Unlike Dead Island, where we can turn off our brains and enjoy the game without worrying about mechanics. I hope more players can utilize this analog fighting type in their Dead Island gameplay, as I believe they're missing out on something significant if they never try this fighting style. Up to this point, are there any questions? Please feel free to write in the comments. Actually, even if there are no questions, please write anything in the comments. Because since becoming a content creator for Dead Island, I have realized that I love Dead Island fans who are not disruptive, rarely comment, and may only occasionally leave a like. In real life, that would be great. Who wouldn't want to have friends like that? However, here we are talking about YouTube. YouTube thinks that if there isn't enough interaction, like comments or shares, especially discussions, the video is considered not very interesting. It's a bit strange, isn't it? YouTube seems to believe that in this world, there are only types of people who, if they like something, they will talk about it excessively. But in reality, there are people like us, right? Dead Island enthusiasts who are orderly, not noisy, still watch the videos fully, and focus on the content, even if the presentation is basic or the quality is lacking. But the point is, people like us just want to truly understand the points we are looking for, like this guide. Not about how good or bad the presentation is, but whether the explanation works or not, right? Alright, before the discussion goes way off track, let's wrap up the video. I am Fury Rust. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you down the line. Please check out every other Deadline videos too in my playlist. Thank you again.